Well, taking a break in the sunshine once again, get away from it, but the channel, of course, does go on even when I'm away, so I am sending a couple of reports back to the office, and Jonas is looking after the channel for the short while I'm away. I'm Dave, this is Dave Takes It On. Well, obviously not in my normal studio, but this is a studio I could easily get used to. Much better backdrop, everything's fine. All we're doing is having a look at what's happening in the news while I'm away, and there's an awful lot that keeps happening and bubbling up. And even things I discover one day and report them in, they've changed by the next day or the day after. There's so much going on at the moment, and most of it is just down to uncertainty. I did a feature on Stellantis and their Fiat 500Es, and these are the ones being equipped out retrospectively with battery swapping. And that is actually quite a good move, but not for the market that Stellantis was looking at. They were working with a car share company, and my own personal thoughts of those is they don't work that well. A number of them have tried, and pretty much most of them have failed at some point or are not getting the use that they anticipated when they started them. However, for holiday car hire, I think they're absolutely perfect, because all you need is a battery swap station near to your hotel, which is where your car is picked up from, the hire car picked up from and dropped off. And it's a really simple life. Even something as lowly as a Fiat 500e with a 24 kilowatt hour battery and about 100-mile range. On holiday, you're not going to do more than 100 mile in a day. You haven't come here for a road trip. You come here for a hotel break, but you want to go out and see the sights. If you're on an island like I am, I don't even know if you could do a 100-mile round. Yeah, I'm not sure you could. So that's not the sort of thing you do when you're on holiday, when you're hiring a car. But this company that is doing the retrofit for the battery swap, they believe they can do it on every car. So this is something I complained about with Neo, that as long as you've got this chicken and egg, it's not really going to catch on. Chicken and egg is, if you haven't got enough battery swap stations, why get a car with a battery swap facility? So who's going to put the battery swaps in if they're not selling the cars? Who's going to buy the cars if they haven't got the station? So it's a chicken and egg situation. On holiday, that's very different, because here you've got a very, very captive market. They do generally much less than 100 mile a day, maybe 40 or 50, and they always go back to the same place at night, the hotel, the campsite, the Airbnb, whatever it is. So it's pretty much a captive audience. They know what's going to happen. So to have a car hire place with a battery swap station there, and then a number of cars, even the Fiat 500e, with battery swap, and all the deal is, you pick up your car, you take it away, you drive for the day. When you get back to your hotel, instead of parking in the hotel or outside the hotel, you just go over, do a battery swap, and then charge it. You can battery swap at any state of charge. So if you've only used 20 or 30 miles, you'll only be charged for 20 or 30 miles. It's really quite simple. And that means that every morning when you wake up, while you've got the car on hire, you'll have a full battery and you'll be able to go as far pretty much as you want. So for that situation, I think these are absolutely brilliant. Unfortunately, Stellantis have just made it back into the news because they're laying off staff. They've found the Fiat 500, other than the new use for it, is not that popular. And it has, unfortunately, been something that I've been saying for a long time, and that is that it's too dear. You know, it's a little car. If you look at the 500 petrol, they're down about £12,000–13,000, brand new. You look at the EV version, they're up over 20,000, 25,000. It's just absolutely crazy money. And the car, it's a nice niche car. It's a fashion status, whatever you like. And they do have their Giorgio Armani special edition. Yeah, absolutely fine. But the Giorgio Armani one is, I think it's 32,000 for a Fiat 500e. Crazy money. And yet now you can buy the BYD Dolphin Surf starting at 18,500, and that's much more like where we need the cars to be. So Stellantis having a bit of a tough time. One of the iconic cars as a petrol car, Fiat 500, is now actually slowing down. They're not selling that many petrol cars, and that's because there's a slew of really cheap EVs coming onto the market. And the EV situation in Europe is really booming at the moment, and people are going for the EV version because it suits their needs. So they're talking about laying off staff, and they're laying off quite a number of staff as well. I personally think it is actually the start of a big slippery slope that it's difficult for some people to understand, but the peak of ICE cars, this is internal combustion engine cars, petrol and diesel, that was 10 years ago, 2015, 2016, when over the years they've been building up. We hit an absolute peak worldwide, UK-wide, Europe-wide, everywhere, maximum peak back in 2016. Since then, it's been falling, and then there was a disproportionate drop, obviously, during COVID. 2020 was the worst of it, and they just crashed. Sales just crashed down to virtually nothing. And we haven't even got to the pre-COVID, the 2018, 2019 levels of new car sales, and nowhere near the 2015, 2016 levels. And the overall fact is something I've been saying for an awful long time, that if you make good cars, petrol, diesel, doesn't matter what they are, and you give them a 3, 4 or 5 year warranty, people will not change the cars every 2 years. And they're not. People are hanging on to the cars for longer, and long after they would normally do it, they got the finance paid off, and they suddenly own the car, and they think, well, if I go and swap it for a new one, I'm going to pay an absolute fortune. The new one is very little better than this. It might have a different speaker system or more comfy seats, but it's not worth the 5, 6, 7, 8, 10,000 pound difference to trade up. So they're hanging on to them. So the market itself has been dropping, and it's been dropping steadily over the last 10 years. There've been peaks in the last few years, but they've been well below where they were 10 years ago. So they're temporary lulls, and now they're heading off back down again, and figures looking like the first half of this year, they're dropping again. Some of that obviously is caused by the tariffs going on, but a lot of it was happening anyhow. 2017, 2018, there's no mention of tariffs back then, and there was virtually no mention of EVs either. I think 2015 or 2016, they sold a few thousand cars. That was it, worldwide. It was really a tiny number. So you can't even blame EVs for this. The EVs didn't really start till 2018, 2019, when the Model 3 came out first, and that was an instant world bestseller. Couple of lull years, but the Model 3 sales kept on booming throughout the COVID era, and then as soon as that ended, they were away, and then the Model Y came out, and away we go. But as a general rule, everything's dropping, and the world has not yet got used to the fact that they've got all these factories around the world, all of them set up and geared up for mass production at ultra low cost, absolutely maximum profit, but nobody's buying them anymore. Everyone everywhere is shutting down factories, apart from EVs. You're seeing new stuff going in all the time. So it's a changing world out there, and there's the same number of people as there were back in 2016, same number of car makers, same number of factories, all fighting for a business about 20% smaller than it was back then. But there's a further 20% coming off, because about a fifth of the cars being sold now are EVs, and many of the legacy autos still don't make a decent number of EVs. So not only is the ICE side of it dropped, they haven't got an EV side to compensate for it, so the drop is proportionally bigger. They lose the ICE element because they've got no decent ICE cars ready, and they lose the ICE version amount of new sales as well. And that's really then meaning that there's an awful lot of factories which are running on about half capacity. And one of the things you do learn in the business is that these factories are designed to operate flat out. They need to be up into, certainly into the 70s or 80%, and preferably up into the 90%. And some of them now are running down at 20, 30, 40% of their capacity. And that's why you need to start laying off staff. Because when you lay off staff, you cut the number of shifts from, say, 3 a day down to 2 a day, and then you can cut weekend shifts, and all of a sudden you're just cutting back, and you end up at some point with not enough cars being made, or sold to actually support that factory. And we've seen this with a number of factories just mothballing now. They've just closed up shop, can't do anything with them. Nobody wants to buy them because they're all in the same boat. They can't sell them other than for land or whatever, whatever they want to build on it. And so they are being hit really, really hard at the moment. And Stellantis is just one of many. Now, the other one talking about cuts is Nissan, and particularly up in Sunderland. And it's such a shame because I reported on these quite recently saying that they're opening up a new factory, new battery factory, specifically for the new Nissan Leaf, which is a cracking car. The Nissan Micra, they've not made a budget-sized EV before. And they're also going to be making the Duke and the Qashqai in full EVs in time. And they've got the batteries and the manufacturing assembly facilities to do it. Unfortunately, Nissan as a company worldwide is struggling. They have exactly the same problem. They have overcapacity of what they were previously making. And now, of course, with the tariffs and not as many cars being sold into the US, their market share is dropping quite dramatically. And that means that as a company, they're just not selling as many cars as they used to. So they're looking to shed some staff. It's fairly logical. I would be surprised if they take too many out of the UK. And the reason is the UK is a booming market. It's the biggest in Europe now. It's overtaken Germany by a long way. And we tend to buy the Nissans locally made, or Lotus or the MGs. I know they're not made here anymore, but you know what I mean. So there is a ready market for them here, and the new one coming out looks stunning. We'll do a feature on that one, and particularly the new Micra, because if that can get down into the £20,000 and below market, which the BYD Dolphin Surf has just entered into, they've got a cracking car there. So I suspect it's an exercise. You know, every branch has to shed something, save some money. But up in Sunderland, I suspect it's going to be managerial jobs and the less critical, shall I say, that they tend to get bloated with over a period of time if sales are going well. So Nissan's another one to watch out for, but I have great faith for them for the future. I think their new entries are fantastic at last. And we're waiting for them to be launched in the UK. The Nissan Leaf is coming out later this year. The Nissan Micra is due out next year. So they're ones to watch out for. Anyway, that's all for now. Just trying to keep up to date with things. I tend to go through the news each night and just see what's happening. And if there's anything really grabbing, I'll do a report. Otherwise, I'll see everyone when I get back. Thanks very much for watching. I'm Dave.